Imagine a world turned upside down, where compasses point south, the northern lights paint the equatorial sky, and technology runs amok. This is just a glimpse of what would happen if the Earth's magnetic field were to flip. This invisible shield, created by the movement of molten iron in the Earth's core, is our guardian against relentless solar and cosmic radiation. But what happens when this shield weakens and the north and south magnetic poles swap positions in a cosmic dance? During the reversal, a process that can take hundreds to thousands of years, the magnetic field weakens alarmingly, leaving us exposed to a torrent of charged particles. Satellites, the pillars of our communication and navigation, would be rendered useless, power grids would collapse under the pressure of solar storms, and global communications would fall silent. Migratory birds, masters of navigation thanks to the magnetic field, would lose their way, unleashing chaos in ecosystems. But Earth would not go down without a fight. The atmosphere, our first shield, offers us partial protection from radiation, and life has shown an astonishing ability to adapt, surviving numerous magnetic reversals throughout history. However, in our technological age, our reliance on electronic systems makes us more vulnerable than ever. Could we adapt to a world without GPS, without internet, with a higher incidence of skin cancer and with the constant threat of solar flares? The reversal of the magnetic field is not the apocalypse, but it is a monumental challenge that would test our adaptability, our resilience, and our ingenuity. A natural event that reminds us of the fragility of our civilization and the imperative to understand and protect the planet we call home. Imagine that, overnight, the sun decides to surprise us and becomes 5% hotter. What would happen to our planet? At first, it might seem like a small, almost insignificant change, but in reality, the consequences would be catastrophic. The average global temperature would rise by several degrees in a matter of weeks, melting the polar ice caps like ice cream in the sun. The oceans would expand, swallowing entire coastal cities, from New York to Tokyo, leaving millions homeless. Storms would become more violent, with hurricanes and typhoons laying waste to everything in their path, while deserts would grow, devouring fertile land and turning entire regions into burning sands. Ecosystems would collapse, heat-sensitive corals would die en masse, and with them, thousands of marine species would disappear. On land, forests would easily catch fire, and animals such as polar bears or penguins would have nowhere to take shelter. We humans would not have it easy either. Heat waves would be unbearable, with temperatures exceeding 50 degrees in many areas, making it impossible to work or even go outside. Agriculture would suffer a devastating blow. Crops such as wheat or corn would wither under the scorching sun, triggering global famines. And let's not forget water. Rivers and lakes would evaporate faster, leaving entire communities without access to this vital resource. But, interestingly, not everything would be chaos immediately. In some cold regions, such as Siberia or northern Canada, the climate could become more habitable, at least for a while. However, this benefit would be short-lived, because the balance of the planet would be broken. Ultimately, this scenario reminds us of how fragile our existence is and how much we depend on that burning star in the sky. A mere 5% warmer, and the world as we know it could vanish forever. Can you imagine living on such a planet? Imagine that suddenly everything on Earth, humanity, oceans, cities, life, moved to each of the other planets in the solar system, orbiting the sun from their respective positions. It's not that Earth changes location, but that its essence, everything that makes it habitable, faces the extreme conditions of these alien worlds. What would happen? If we moved to Mercury, the planet closest to the sun, we would scorch under temperatures of more than 400 degrees Celsius during the day, while the nights would drop to minus 180 degrees, freezing us instantly. The oceans would evaporate in hours, and life as we know it would disappear. On Venus, the scenario would be even more terrifying. A dense, corrosive atmosphere, with clouds of sulfuric acid and temperatures of almost 500 degrees, would crush and cook everything in its path, while toxic gases would make the air unbreathable. If we were to move to Mars, we would encounter extreme cold averaging minus 80 degrees and a thin atmosphere. Humans would need pressure suits to survive, and the oceans would freeze or evaporate from the low pressure, leaving a frozen desert. On Jupiter, the gas giant's immense gravity would tear apart our cities, and deadly radiation, coupled with colossal storms, would wipe out any hope of life. On Saturn, without a solid surface, we would sink into its gaseous layers, while the rings of ice and rock, while beautiful, would be a constant danger. If we were to reach Uranus, the extreme cold of minus 200 degrees and hurricane-force methane winds would freeze us instantly, and its tilted axis would cause chaotic and unpredictable seasons. Finally, on Neptune, temperatures of minus 200 degrees and supersonic winds of more than 2,000 kilometers per hour would destroy any structure, making life impossible. As for living beings, on Mercury and Venus, extreme heat and toxic atmospheres would make life impossible. On Mars, freezing and lack of air would require special suits to survive. Jupiter and Saturn would destroy us with their gravity, radiation, and lack of solid surface. Uranus and Neptune would freeze us instantly with their extreme temperatures and devastating winds. In short, no planet is habitable for terrestrial life. Each planet in the solar system shows us how fragile our existence is and how delicate the balance is that allows life on Earth. This video will make you think, how lucky are we to be right where we are, in this little cosmic oasis?